Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jay and welcome to the Shiplife. So for today's cruise news, I want to talk about what's currently going on with COVID-19 because obviously, as we all know, when it comes to COVID-19 and cruise ships, it's a very ugly combination. It has caused a lot of problems over the past 2 years. However, I do want to point out that overall, as it stands and where we are right now with the pandemic in the cruise ship industry, things really aren't that bad. However, COVID is still rearing its ugly head, and I do believe that between now, as we are now entering summer and the not so distant future, we could see both good and bad changes. So I do want to talk about everything that's going on and, well, what could potentially be expected. So to start off, I do want to sail briefly back into time to where things weren't so great for the cruise ship industry up until where we are now. As we all know, March 2020, specifically around March 20th to be exact, the cruise ship industry shut down. Everything came to a screeching halt, and that happened from March 2020 all the way until, let's say, the later end of summer of 2021. So you're talking about 18 months of basically no cruise activity, except at the time over in some small parts in Europe. Now, whenever cruising did get shut down, there were a lot of things that were happening. We did hear about the infamous test cruises that were, let's be honest, an absolute fail. And then during that process, when cruise lines were trying to start back up, you had government officials and politicians that were also trying to shut cruising down. But thankfully, again, toward the later end of 2021 and summer anyway, we started seeing cruising operations finally return, and obviously a lot of us were happy. However, it did come with a lot of rules and restrictions. For example, we did see extremely limited capacity. Some cruise lines right at the beginning were sailing as low as 30% occupancy. Now, this was a combination between the cruise lines trying to be safe and appease the CDC, as well as overall perspective and appeal for cruising for passengers that actually sail on cruise ships not really being so high for fear of COVID-19. Then, of course, we also had the testing that needed to be done prior to sailing. Some cruise lines were even doing mid-cruise testing. We had social distancing on board. There was a lot of things that made cruising seem, well, not normal at all. Now, if we fast forward to where we are currently, things overall are looking pretty good. You have a lot of cruise lines that have completely done away with social distancing and masking. Well, there is one ship, which I'll explain in a minute, that has re-implemented masking on board ships for passengers in order to sail, at least indoors. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, right now you have multiple cruise lines, especially the big three like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and NCL, that have its full fleet back into operation. Some ships are even sailing full occupancy, even though some of them are short-staffed. But that's another topic for another day. You also have MSC cruise lines, with the exception of one ship, has fully returned to operation. That is the MSC Musica. However, that ship is set to resume operations this June, and I think that's going to be great overall for the industry. The more ships, the merrier. I think that's a given. However, we still have a very big issue that still needs to be tackled, and that is COVID-19. As of right now, when it comes to COVID, some places are definitely a lot hotter than other spots. And I mean this quite literally too. Over in South Florida, Miami to be specific, it is currently in a red zone. Now, we know that Miami, specifically the port of Miami, is the largest cruise ship port on planet Earth. Over there in the red zone, they have a series of COVID events that are currently taking place between the passengers, and from what I can understand and what I've gathered, what I know, primarily the crew. Now, I will say that it is interesting to me when it comes to the crew members that are testing positive for COVID, because this has been a recurring thing over the past couple months. Crew members are fully vaccinated and boosted, and most of them, for most cruise lines, are also tested weekly. Now, how is this going to affect all of you? Well, we've all seen lately a lot of cruise lines, including Carnival and even Royal Caribbean, in some extent, some regards, are coming out and saying that they are short-staffed. Now, there are other reasons, but the primary reason that I've noticed is a lot of crew members are testing positive. There's also the issue of the visa situation. It takes a long time to process in the United States. But my point is, when it comes to COVID, it's causing a lot of issues for the crew, and I do believe that overall it's going to affect your experience as we sail into summertime because, well, the morale could potentially be down with the crew members because they get no shore leave, meaning they can't get off of the ship. They also have their only social areas, be it the recreation center and the crew bar, that is also closed. So again, you can see where I'm going with this. Even though a lot of the crew members are there to work, unfortunately as well, fortunately, we're all human. We all want interactions. We all want to be able to be social and hang out with people. It's just part of our nature. And when we don't have that, well, it can obviously affect how we are feeling as a whole. Now, when it comes to things that are currently happening right now, we do have Holland America's new ship, the Amsterdam. It was just christened just a couple short days ago on May 29th. And when the people were boarding the ship, the guests that were coming to check out this brand new beautiful ship, they were surprised when they were handed masks, and they were told that they had to wear masks indoors at all times except when they are obviously eating or drinking. And when it comes to outside, they are suggesting that if there is a large group of people, they should also be masking up. And it is also highly recommended that that when they are on shore excursions or around certain cruise ports, they should also mask up. Now, when it comes to COVID, as most of you know, I am very somewhat laxed about the issue at this point in time, especially when it comes to cruising, because cruise lines are doing everything that they need to do to keep everybody safe, or at least better than any other industry out there, any public place that you would go to. They are doing testing, they are constantly cleaning, and to be honest, all this stuff was happening prior to the pandemic. And I also believe that context is very important when it comes to COVID. Are people getting so sick to the point to where they're being hospitalized? Are they dying? Well, according to the records that the cruise lines are putting out, that has not happened. There's been a couple rare occurrences over the past, I want to say, year or so, but I would say that the percentage is less than 1%, which is obviously great for the cruise ship industry. Now, what are we looking at for the future? Because as most of you know, it is important to pay attention to what's happening to a specific cruise line or even a specific ship, because if something is happening with one ship and things continue to worsen or maybe stay the same, we could potentially see other cruise lines out there implement the same rules, and by that I mean masking and social distancing. Now, some people don't have a problem with it. Personally, I understand the people that do, because I do believe if you are going to pay thousands and thousands of dollars in most cases to go on a vacation, you want things to be as normal and relaxed and as free as humanly possible. But of course, the cruise lines, yes, they do have to do what they're doing. There's a lot of do's, and but anyway, you get my point here. Now, what's going to happen during summer? I believe that maybe there is the potential for things to somewhat worsen for the short term. However, COVID could potentially go away, and maybe we don't see a spike of this monkeypox thing that everybody's talking about, and we can go back to normal and how things were pre-pandemic. But all of that is still yet to be seen. Let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope that we can continue to go down the right path and things could slow down in regards to COVID. But anyway, guys, that is my news for today. Let me know how you guys feel about all this in the comment section below. I don't want to make this video a negative thing. I just believe it is a topic for discussion. As somebody that has been on multiple ships over the past, I want to say about 60 to 90 days. I've been about 4 or 5, actually, well, 5 ships, and I've seen a lot. I've seen people that are testing positive for COVID, both crew members and passengers, and well, it does definitely affect the overall experience for cruising at this point in time. So again, let me know what you guys think. On your way out, of course, hit that like button, subscribe to my other channel, Jay the Nomad. I am going to be documenting my whole process. Again, I head back to Orlando to finish my rehearsals for the ship that I'll be working on, Virgin Voyages Resilient Lady, and I'm super excited, so follow that journey as well, and of course, I'll keep you guys updated on the cruise news. I appreciate you guys. I love all of you, and I will see you very soon. Take it easy.